They told us not to wander past the third-floor corridor after dark. Not because of Fluffy, the three-headed dog, nor the enchantments long gone that kept him there. No, the truth was much more recent, and whatever lingered there was something even more fearsome than a half-asleep Cerberus. Something that once belonged to Helena Ravenclaw, the Grey Lady herself, before she became the ghost that haunted those very halls. I should know. It all started when I was a fourth-year Ravenclaw student. My common room was down a portrait hole at the end of a long, narrow corridor. The walls were lined with bookshelves, laden with dusty tomes, and each alcove was dominated by an enormous suit of armor that looked like it had been polished in decades. Not exactly the coziest common room, especially since we didn't have a fire, but it was quiet, which I liked. That is, until my dreams began bleeding into waking life. I started having these vivid dreams about a room bathed in blue flames, whispering books, lining the walls, and an ornate keyhole at the far end of the room. I didn't understand their meaning, but they felt important. Then one day, while staring at the suits of armor, I saw what looked like a small indentation in the metal breastplate of one of them. I placed my fingers in the gap and pressed, and it gave way. An opening appeared behind the suit of armor, revealing a set of stone stairs spiraling downwards into darkness. I hesitated only a second before descending the stairs. After all, where else would a secret passage from a dusty old corridor lead? When I emerged into a cavernous chamber, I found myself surrounded by the exact same blue flames I'd seen in my dreams. And there in front of me were the whispering books. As I drew closer, they fell silent. But then a voice echoed through the chamber, raspy and cold as a winter wind. "Who disturbs the slumber of the Raven Queen?" I replied, taken aback. "I'm sorry, who's there?" "One who seeks knowledge beyond her time," the voice rasped. "What do you want? To help you?" the voice said cryptically. "But first, you must face the guardian of the Raven Queen's most prized possession." As the voice faded, the books began to whisper again, their voices growing louder and more agitated until the cacophony was almost unbearable. I closed my eyes, trying to focus on the voice. "She rests in a place of ice and tears, where the Raven Queen's spirit perseveres. Find the heart of ice and set it free, and the Raven Queen's soul shall finally rest." When I opened my eyes, I saw a statue of Athena, her face etched with sorrow, perched atop a pedestal in the center of the room. Her outstretched hand rested on a silver urn, which must have been the heart of ice the voice had mentioned. Suddenly, Athena spoke, her voice as cold and sharp as shattered glass. "You seek the lost diadem of Ravenclaw, do you not? Very well, I shall tell you where it is, but you must answer my riddle first." She fixed me with her icy gaze. "I have cities, but no houses. I have mountains, but no trees. I have water, but no fish. What am I?" I thought hard, racking my brain for an answer. Then it hit me. "Is it a map?" Athena's expression seemed to soften slightly, if such a thing was possible for a statue. "Correct," she said. "The Raven Queen hid her diadem in a place only a true Ravenclaw could find. It is here, within the walls of this very castle, concealed by magic, yet plain as day for those who know where to look." With that, Athena turned back to her sorrowful vigil. The statue, that is, not her actual form, for when I approached the pedestal, I saw that where Athena's hand had rested on the urn, it was now etched with a keyhole. I inserted the key from my dream, and it turned effortlessly. The lid of the urn shot off, and inside I found a single, exquisitely crafted silver diadem, humming faintly with magic. It was beautiful, but I knew I shouldn't touch it. I'd seen enough episodes of worst-case scenario to know that touching cursed objects could go horribly wrong. Just ask poor old nearly headless Nick. So I left the diadem where it was and hurried out of the room, up the stairs, and back through the secret passageway to the corridor. And that's when I heard a voice. Professor Flitwick, who was passing by, stopped dead in his tracks. He beckoned for me to come aside, and then, in a hushed tone, he warned me never to speak of this place to anyone. He also revealed that he'd known about the chamber for years, having discovered it shortly after it was hidden by Helena Ravenclaw, but he'd never entered it. And now he cautioned me against it, warning that whatever had guarded the diadem was still there, still waiting. He suggested I destroy the diadem rather than return it to the school, which seemed reasonable, except I couldn't bring myself to destroy such a beautiful piece of magic. Plus, I didn't know how to destroy something that was still radiating so much magic. It was almost as if it were protected by a ward. And so I did the dumbest thing I could possibly have done. I returned to the Chamber of Secrets with the diadem in hand, hoping to either give it back to Helena or destroy it. But as soon as I stepped back into that chamber, I realized my mistake. The air was heavy with magic and a presence that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. The voice boomed through the chamber. "So, you've returned? Brave of you. Foolish perhaps. Come then, let us see if you have what it takes to claim the prize." I spun around, searching for the source of the voice, but saw nothing. Then I noticed a book on the floor, its pages rustling softly, and I felt an overwhelming urge to pick it up and open it. As soon as I did, tendrils of shadow shot out from between the pages, coiling around my arms like icy snakes. I screamed, dropping the book and stumbling backwards. The tendrils pursued me, wrapping themselves around my legs and pulling me toward the book. Just then, the apparition of Helena Ravenclaw materialized in front of me. Her translucent form shimmered in the flickering lamplight. Her expression grave. "Do not fear," she said, her voice echoing with sadness. "I mean you no harm. I am here to help you." She reached out a hand, and I hesitated, torn between my fear of the shadows and my hope that Helena could help me. In the end, curiosity won out, and when Helena took me by the hand, the shadows retreated, hissing angrily. "Why are you here?" she asked, turning to the retreating tendrils. "I felt your presence here, Helena. I knew you were here, and I needed your help," I explained, gesturing to the tendrils. "What are these?" Helena looked from me to the tendrils, and back again, her expression troubled. "These," she said finally, "are the remnants of my former self, bound to this place by a magic that refuses to let me pass." Then she turned back to me, her eyes filled with a deep sadness. "I hid the diadem here, believing it would be safe. But I was wrong, for there are those who would use its power for their own evil ends. And now I am trapped, unable to move on until the diadem is destroyed or claimed by a true rate." She looked at me, her gaze intense. "Can you do it, Luna? Can you destroy the diadem?" I hesitated, torn between my desire to help Helena and my fear of what might happen when I touched the diadem. But seeing the hope in Helena's eyes, I knew I had to try. With a deep breath, I reached out and took the diadem from the pedestal. As soon as my fingers brushed against it, a jolt of magic surged through me. The diadem was warm to the touch, almost as if it were alive. And then it began to hum, vibrating at a high pitch that made my teeth ache. The humming grew louder and louder until I could barely stand it. I dropped the diadem, which shattered into a million pieces. Each shard pulsed with a faint, dying light before vanishing into dust. As the last shard disappeared, the humming ceased abruptly and the room plunged into darkness. Then, just as quickly, it was flooded with bright light. When I could see again, the room was empty, the diadem and pedestal gone. But in front of me stood Helena, her form solid and real. "You did it?" she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "You freed me?" She threw her arms around me, and I hugged her back, feeling her sadness and relief in equal measure. "Come," she said finally, stepping back. "Let us leave this place together." And as we walked out of the chamber, hand in hand, I knew that we weren't just leaving the Chamber of Secrets. We were leaving a part of Helena Ravenclaw behind, allowing her to finally move on.